As World War II neared its end, Berlin stood as the last stronghold of Nazi Germany. The city, once a symbol of power and culture, now braced itself for an inevitable siege. Soviet forces were closing in from the east while Western allies pressed from the west. Berlin's citizens, soldiers, and leaders sensed the approaching storm. The city's streets, once bustling with life, grew tense and quiet. Rumors of the Red Army's advance spread fear and uncertainty. In this tense atmosphere, Berlin prepared for what would become one of the most dramatic battles in modern history. April 1945, the Soviet Union's Red Army had surrounded Berlin. Their relentless push through Eastern Europe had brought them to the city's doorstep. Artillery thundered day and night, shaking buildings and nerves alike. The Soviets aimed to capture Berlin before the Western Allies could arrive, hoping to claim victory and shape the post-war world. As tanks rolled closer, Berlin's defenders scrambled to fortify positions, but supplies and morale were running dangerously low. The city's fate now hung in the balance, with the world watching closely. For Berlin's civilians, the approaching battle brought terror and uncertainty. Many sought shelter in basements and subway tunnels, hoping to escape the relentless bombing and artillery fire. Families were separated and food became scarce. The city's infrastructure was collapsing under the strain of war. Despite the chaos, some tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, clinging to routines and supporting one another. The fear of what the future held was ever present, as stories of violence and destruction from the east spread through the city. German military and civilian authorities scrambled to prepare Berlin's defenses. Makeshift barricades appeared on major streets, and anti-tank obstacles were set up at key intersections. The Volkssturm, a militia of older men and young boys, was mobilized to bolster the city's depleted garrison. Despite their efforts, most defenders lacked proper training and equipment. The city's once mighty fortifications were now a patchwork of desperate measures, reflecting the dire situation facing Berlin. Beneath the ruined city, Adolf Hitler and his closest associates took refuge in the Führerbunker. Isolated from the outside world, Hitler issued increasingly unrealistic orders to his commanders. The bunker became a symbol of the regime's final days, claustrophobic, tense, and filled with despair. As Soviet shells rained down above, the Nazi leadership faced the collapse of their empire. Paranoia and hopelessness gripped those inside, as the reality of defeat became impossible to ignore. Soviet assault on Berlin began with a massive artillery barrage. Thousands of shells pounded the city, reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. The noise was deafening and the ground shook with each explosion. Fires raged out of control and smoke darkened the sky. For Berliners, the bombardment was both terrifying and relentless. The city's defenders struggled to hold their positions, but the overwhelming firepower of the Red Army made resistance seem futile. Soviet troops entered Berlin, fierce street fighting erupted. Every block became a battleground, with soldiers and civilians caught in the crossfire. The Red Army advanced methodically, clearing buildings one by one. German defenders used the city's ruins to their advantage, setting ambushes and snipers. The fighting was brutal in close quarters, with little regard for the safety of non-combatants. The city's landscape was transformed into a maze of destruction and chaos. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Berlin's defenders fought with desperation. The Volkssturm and remnants of the regular army held out in pockets across the city. Some fought for ideology, others simply for survival. The Soviets faced stubborn resistance at key points, but their superior numbers and firepower gradually wore down the defenders. The cost in lives and destruction mounted with each passing day. As the battle raged, Berlin's civilians endured unimaginable hardship. Water, electricity, and food supplies were cut off in many areas. Hospitals overflowed with wounded and medical supplies ran out. Families were separated by the fighting and many sought refuge wherever they could. The psychological toll was immense as fear and uncertainty became a daily reality. Yet in the midst of chaos, acts of kindness and solidarity emerged, showing the resilience of the human spirit. Red Army tightened its grip on Berlin, encircling the city and cutting off all escape routes. German units trapped inside faced the grim prospect of annihilation or surrender. The Soviets advanced from multiple directions, squeezing the defenders into an ever-shrinking pocket. Supplies dwindled and communication with the outside world was lost. The city was now completely isolated, with no hope of relief. Inside Berlin, morale among both soldiers and civilians collapsed. News of Hitler's increasingly erratic orders and the hopelessness of the situation spread quickly. Desertions increased and some units surrendered without a fight. The city's leadership struggled to maintain control, but the sense of impending doom was overwhelming. Many began to realize that the end was near and survival became the only priority. The Führerbunker, Hitler's world, shrank to a few dimly lit rooms. Surrounded by loyalists, he refused to leave Berlin, insisting on fighting to the bitter end. As defeat became inevitable, Hitler married Eva Braun and dictated his last will and testament. The bunker was filled with tension and despair, as those inside faced the collapse of everything they had believed in. On April 30, 1945, Hitler took his own life, marking the symbolic end of the Nazi regime. With Hitler gone, Berlin's remaining leaders began to negotiate surrender. General Helmuth Weidling, the city's military commander, sought to end the bloodshed. Soviet commanders demanded unconditional surrender, and tense discussions followed. For many in Berlin, the prospect of surrender brought relief, but also fear of what the future would hold under Soviet occupation. The city's fate now rested in the hands of its conquerors. On May 2, 1945, Berlin officially surrendered to the Soviet forces. The city's defenders laid down their arms and the Red Army took control. The battle was over, but the scars of war remained everywhere. For Berliners, the end of fighting brought a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and uncertainty. The city was in ruins and the long process of rebuilding was about to begin. Aftermath of the Battle of Berlin was devastating. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble and thousands of lives had been lost. Survivors emerged from shelters to find their city unrecognizable. The Red Army began the process of occupation, establishing control and order. For many, the end of the battle was only the beginning of a new struggle to survive in a shattered world. Soviet troops quickly established control over Berlin, checkpoints were set up and patrols roamed the streets. The new authorities began to restore order, but tensions ran high. Many Berliners feared reprisals and struggled to adjust to life under occupation. The city's future was uncertain as the victors imposed their will on the defeated population. The weeks following the surrender, Berlin faced a severe humanitarian crisis. Food, water, and medical supplies were desperately needed. Aid organizations and occupying forces worked to provide relief, but the scale of the disaster was overwhelming. Disease and malnutrition spread rapidly, and many struggled to survive. The city's population had been traumatized by war, and recovery would be a long and difficult process. As the Allies took control, Berlin was divided into sectors controlled by the Soviet Union, the United States, Britain, and France. This division set the stage for future tensions and the eventual Cold War. The city became a symbol of the New World Order, split between East and West. For Berliners, the division brought new challenges and uncertainties, as families and communities were separated by political boundaries. Despite the devastation, Berliners began the difficult task of rebuilding their city. Rubble was cleared and basic services were slowly restored. International aid played a crucial role in the recovery process. The spirit of resilience and determination was evident as people worked together to create a new future. The scars of war remained, but hope gradually returned to the battered city. Fall of Berlin triggered a massive movement of refugees. Many fled the city to escape violence or seek better living conditions elsewhere. Displaced persons camps sprang up across Germany, filled with people from all walks of life. The challenges of resettlement and rebuilding lives were immense, but communities formed in the face of adversity. The refugee crisis became one of the defining legacies of the war's end. The aftermath of the battle, attention turned to the crimes committed during the Nazi regime. Allied authorities began investigations and trials to hold perpetrators accountable. The Nuremberg trials would soon become a symbol of international justice. For many, the pursuit of justice was a necessary step toward healing and reconciliation, even as the horrors of war remained fresh in memory. Berlin's rich cultural heritage suffered greatly during the battle. Museums, libraries, and historic buildings were damaged or destroyed. Priceless works of art were lost or stolen. The city's identity, shaped by centuries of history, was forever altered. Yet even in the ruins, efforts to preserve and restore cultural treasures began, reflecting the enduring importance of art and history to Berlin's people. Psychological impact of the battle was profound. Survivors struggled with trauma, grief, and loss. Many experienced nightmares and anxiety haunted by memories of violence and destruction. The process of healing was slow and support systems were often lacking. Over time, Berliners found ways to cope, drawing strength from community and shared experience. The scars of war would remain for generations. Fall of Berlin was watched closely by the world. News of the city's capture spread rapidly, and governments responded with statements and plans for the post-war order. The division of Berlin and Germany became a central issue in international politics. The city's fate was now tied to the broader struggle between East and West, setting the stage for decades of tension and rivalry. For Nazi Germany, the fall of Berlin was the ultimate symbol of defeat. The city's capture marked the end of Hitler's regime and the collapse of the Third Reich. Across Europe, people celebrated the end of the war, but the cost had been immense. Berlin's ruins stood as a stark reminder of the consequences of tyranny and war. At the war's end, a new era began for Berlin and the world. The city became a focal point for reconstruction, reconciliation, and the struggle between competing ideologies. The lessons of the past shaped the future, as Berliners and the international community worked to build a more just and peaceful world. The city's story was far from over. The legacy of the Battle of Berlin endures to this day. Memorials and museums commemorate the sacrifices made and the lessons learned. The city's history is a reminder of the dangers of extremism and the importance of resilience. Berlin's transformation from a symbol of destruction to one of renewal is a testament to the human spirit's capacity for recovery and hope. Amid the grand sweep of history, countless personal stories unfolded during the fall of Berlin. Survivors recall moments of fear, courage, and compassion. Families were torn apart and reunited, friendships forged in adversity. These individual experiences add depth and humanity to the story of the city's fall, reminding us that history is lived by real people. Children experienced the fall of Berlin in unique and often tragic ways. Many lost parents or were separated from their families. Schools were destroyed and childhoods were interrupted by violence and loss. Yet even in the darkest times, children found ways to play and hope. Their resilience is a powerful reminder of the enduring strength of the human spirit. Women played a vital role in Berlin's survival and recovery. Many took on new responsibilities, caring for families and helping to rebuild the city. They faced immense challenges, from violence and loss to the struggle for daily necessities. Their stories of strength and perseverance are an essential part of Berlin's history, highlighting the often overlooked contributions of women in times of crisis. Even as the city lay in ruins, art and creativity persisted. Artists documented the devastation and expressed hope for the future through their work. Murals, drawings, and performances became acts of resistance and healing. The power of art to inspire and unite people was evident, offering comfort and meaning in a time of chaos. Seeds of the Berlin Wall were sown in the city's division after the war. As tensions between the Soviet Union and Western allies grew, Berlin became a frontline in the Cold War. The eventual construction of the wall would symbolize the city's and the world's deep divisions. The legacy of the fall of Berlin thus extended far beyond 1945, shaping global history for decades. In the years after the war, Berliners worked to memorialize the events of 1945. Monuments and museums were established to honor the dead and educate future generations. These efforts ensured that the lessons of the past would not be forgotten. The city's landscape became a living reminder of history, inviting reflection and remembrance. Fall of Berlin marked the beginning of a new global conflict, the Cold War. The city became a symbol of the struggle between communism and democracy. Spies, diplomats, and soldiers converged on Berlin, making it a center of intrigue and tension. The scars of war were joined by new divisions as the world entered a dangerous and uncertain era. Story of Berlin's fall offers important lessons for the present and future. It reminds us of the dangers of unchecked power, the costs of war, and the resilience of ordinary people. By remembering the past, we can work to prevent similar tragedies and build a more peaceful world. Berlin's history is a call to vigilance, compassion, and hope. Today, Berlin is a vibrant, cosmopolitan city. Its streets and buildings bear the marks of history but also the promise of renewal. The city has become a symbol of unity and resilience, attracting people from around the world. Museums, memorials, and historic sites keep the memory of 1945 alive, while new generations shape the city's future. Fall of Berlin had a profound impact on the world. It shaped the outcome of World War II and set the stage for the Cold War. The city's story became a symbol of both destruction and hope, influencing generations of leaders and citizens. The lessons of Berlin continue to resonate, reminding us of the importance of peace and cooperation. Each year, Berliners and visitors gather to remember those who died in the battle and its aftermath. Ceremonies and moments of silence honor the sacrifices made by soldiers and civilians alike. These acts of remembrance help keep the memory of the past alive, fostering a sense of shared history and responsibility. Survivors of the fall of Berlin have shared their stories with future generations. Their accounts reveal the hardships, courage, and hope that defined those days. Through interviews, memoirs, and documentaries, the voices of the past continue to inspire and educate. These personal narratives are a vital part of understanding the true impact of history. Memory plays a crucial role in shaping Berlin's identity. The city's commitment to remembering its past has helped foster reconciliation and understanding. Museums, memorials, and educational programs ensure that the lessons of history are not forgotten. The power of memory continues to guide Berlin as it moves forward. In the decades since the war, Berlin has become a symbol of reconciliation and healing. Former enemies have become partners, working together to build a better future. The city's transformation is a testament to the possibility of forgiveness and renewal, even after the darkest times. Berlin's journey offers hope to people around the world facing conflict and division. Berlin's story is central to the history of the 20th century. The city witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the horrors of war, and the triumph of renewal. Its experience offers valuable insights into the forces that shape our world. By studying Berlin's past, we gain a deeper understanding of the challenges and possibilities of the present. From the ashes of war, Berlin has been reborn. The city's skyline is now a blend of old and new, reflecting its journey from destruction to renewal. Berlin's vibrant culture, diverse population, and dynamic economy are a testament to its resilience. The city's story continues, shaped by the lessons of the past and the hopes of the future. Fall of Berlin holds lessons for the entire world. It shows the dangers of extremism, the costs of conflict, and the power of hope. By remembering and learning from history, we can work to build a more peaceful and just society. Berlin's experience is a reminder that even in the darkest times, renewal is possible. The enduring legacy of the fall of Berlin is one of resilience, remembrance, and renewal. The city's journey from destruction to recovery inspires people around the world. As Berlin continues to evolve, its history remains a powerful guide for future generations. The lessons of 1945 live on, reminding us of the importance of courage, compassion, and hope.